sit down once a month with a cup of coffee and have a conversation with people around the world. My name is Reverend Laurie Denman, and I am the president of Witch School and the Master of Records for the Correllian tradition. With me today, I'll turn it over to Lord Silas to introduce himself.
Hello, everybody. I'm Silas. So I'm the head of the Mystical Rainbow Temple. I am also the assistant dean of mentors with Witch School. I'm just I like to help out with a lot of things. And now let's go ahead and I'll turn it over to Reverend Laurie.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you're watching or listening from. I'm Reverend Laurie Blockman. I am the press secretary for the Correllian Tradition and the assistant dean of students for Witch School International.
Welcome to International Pagan World Cafe, where Correllians and other notables from around the world share a cup of coffee or tea and chat. Viewers can interact with the hosts and guests during the live broadcast through chatting through the social media tool they are viewing the show on. So grab a cup of coffee or tea and sit down a spell with today's wonderful lineup.
And joining us today for this special lustration edition of the International Pagan World Cafe is Chancellor Stephanie Neal, First Priestess of the Correllian Tradition. Good morning, Lady Staff.
Good morning. How are you?
Wonderful.
Good.
And we also have joining us Most Reverend Phoenix Coffin-Williams, Temple Keeper for Holistic Knowledge, and also First Priest Regent of the Correllian Tradition. Good morning.
Yay.
Hey, y'all. How y'all doing?
We're doing great. It's an exciting weekend, action-packed weekend. For those of you that are not Correllians joining the broadcast, the Lustration Weekend is a once-a-year global celebration where the ancestors of the Correllian tradition are honored and venerated and spoken with, communed with, and it's just like a big family reunion. So a lot of chats going on this weekend. Later today at noon, you can also check out on social media. We will be broadcasting the lustration ritual itself at noon. So stay tuned to the social channels for that. So, Lady Stephanie, you have taken on some big shoes to fill, and you've been very, very busy. I know that you have always celebrated the people within the tradition and the work that they do. And you always work very hard to show people that it is seen and appreciated. Can you tell us a little bit about those efforts?
Some are very direct, that I approach people and just let them know that I have seen how they approach people and how they deliver their gifts to the tradition and to their community, and start a little bit of a dialogue and letting them know that if there's anything I can do, if anything the tradition can do, and to also let them know the huge amount of sources we have within the tradition regarding people helping people. And I'm always very aware of sometimes we're too busy to appreciate everyone else doing their work. And so I deliberately make sure that people are thanked and seen. So then the whole idea is that I do have a plan behind that, and the plan has always been so that as each of our amazing people go forth with their own gifts and their own perceptions and views and background, that we then can show them how wonderful they are, because most people don't realize how wonderful they are. Sometimes they need to be told. And all the while, my plan is that here, all the while, the tradition becomes better. We become better as a people. And so just knowing that, and of course, the individual doing all the work also develops and grows further, because through the work, there's more lessons to be learned inside the work. So that's a nutshell of why I do that.
And you do it beautifully.
Oh, thank you.
And Lord Phoenix, you have also stepped into the same big shoes with your recent elevation to First Priest Regent. Can you tell us about that experience?
Yeah, it's kind of a big deal. Not kind of, it's absolutely a big deal. On the one hand, I have some job satisfaction, right? Like, this is a position that I get to serve in, and I get to know that I have a purpose for the rest of my life. And that takes a lot of pressure off of me to like try to make somebody out of myself, right? This is the thing that I can do now. I can settle into some actualization and really give this role the best that I have to offer. I will say that when this particular Phoenix crosses your path, however, there's going to be some legitimate resurrection energy, some legitimate renewal energy, and a reconfirmation that forever is really the long game, and we are working with and for each other for better forever, over and over and over again. And that is something that I would like to remind people of first and foremost. I got here, and I'm here to remind you that this is an ongoing thing.
Yeah, and that's part of our teachings as Corellians, is that souls tend to travel in packs. And when you reincarnate, you can determine where you are reincarnated into, what type of situation, what location, what time, that there is conscious reincarnation, and that the work goes with us from lifetime to lifetime to lifetime. So as new people join the Corellian family, it's not one and done. We're going to be your family for eternity. We are always going to be reincarnating and picking up the work and doing the great work that the ancestors have set out for us. So what are some of the things that's happening in your world right now?
So this is the first illustration that I'm a part of in this new role. I've been in this role for just over a month and a half now. So I want to say it was March 3rd was when it happened. And so as a result, I've gotten a good 80 new friend requests a day for the last month and a half. And y'all know, like, I keep my circle pretty close. So to be like, I probably need to be friendly. I probably need to learn who these people are and figure out, what the connection is. Spiritually, the ancestors and I have always had a really good connection. I've always been able to talk to them. I've always been able to treat them like they were my actual relatives. And I've even had moments where I've been double teamed by biological ancestors and spiritual Corellian ancestors with, that spiritual clue by four. But now at this level, the chattiness, the visions, the insight into, everything that's going on has become kind of like a big expansion. Like, I can almost feel what's happening with a lot of different people in different parts of the world at the same time. And like grounding through that and coming to terms with the fact that I'm going to be feeling everyone in a different way has been something that's been occurring for me, and something that I've been having to, learn to sit with during yoga and meditation and breathing, and, getting all this extra, like just making sure I'm grounding and not like driving myself nuts has been like on the forefront of, what I've been doing. I've also been learning exactly how disorganized I am. I need a lot of organizational help. I need notebooks, I need reminders, I need pings, all of those things. And so it's been a little bit hard to realize like how not on the ball I am on some things and how on the ball I am on things that like I really, really like and love. And so on the forefront right now is learning how to balance doing the things that I absolutely have to do because the ripple is a lot larger, right? I'm not just throwing a stone into my own sink anymore. Now there's oceans that have this ripple. And so getting better at these things that I'm not good at is a priority right now. And so like I'm grieving, like, okay, I'm not super duper amazing, but like there's an opportunity for me to rise still. And that's kind of where I'm focusing on that.
Yeah. The Office of Heralds was created for a reason. So, Steph, what have you been up to lately?
Basically, first of all, the Carillion tradition has always been my first priority, 24/7, for I guess almost 20 years. And now, for some reason, that's even picked up and become even. Basically, I can't go to the bathroom anymore.
No chance to unplug, huh?
Right. Yes. And like Lord Phoenix, First Priest Phoenix, that seeing how important this role is, especially when you step into it. Now, yes, I have been the first priestess for 7 years, but the stepping into chancellorship, and this in fact is our both of our first with first priest Phoenix that I'm coming in as a chancellor for the first illustration and as first priest Phoenix. So recognizing how many folks really do have different needs, and yet they do and they don't. In that, the main thing I've seen as people have been contacting me every day is that they once again want to have an opportunity. And some have not realized that this is the place that you will be given opportunities. And then along with the healing, there's many types of healing. And I don't have all the answers. And so I make that clear to everyone. But yet I know that there are people within the tradition that are better prepared for certain healings. And then the things that I know, because sometimes it's more powerful to know what you don't know, and then also know what you do know, so that you can move the process of healing for the other person quicker. And I have no problem saying, all right, we really need to talk to, and then fill in the blank, because this person has experienced the same things that you've experienced. So that I am always open to realizing that to basically just share, and then also they're excited about that because they say, all right, so now I get to be introduced to a new personality, or I knew that personality, but never really had an opportunity to just have a chat with them. So even though everything's not big and important, and yet everything is big and important.
Right.
Awesome. I love that.
Oh, well, I love you too.
Love, love, love.
I feel the love. Always feel the love, Lady Steph. So let's shift our gear a little bit. So I'd like for Lord Phoenix, if you could tell us a little bit about how you got started on this.
Okay.
Inquiring minds want to know.
Yeah, I would love to share that story. So, as you know, phoenixes are very divine mythological creatures. And it started way, way, way back when the sun spit out a solar flare and inoculated the earth with its seed. And then that's how the first phoenix arose on the planet. And then over time, flamed out, burst into flames, ashes, reborn over and over and over again. And so this incarnation, I respawned in 1988 in Albany, New York. It's where I was born. And my family of origin in this lifetime, very spiritual people for sure, not witches. They will not let you know that's not a thing. It's very clear. My family absolutely believes in God, absolutely believes in prayers, absolutely believes in blessing the home, blessing the children. Women maintain the sanctity of our faith. Like, it's always the women who are like, all right, hold hands, it's time to pray. All of that is true, but they will never endorse that they taught me witchcraft. Well, let me tell you what they taught me. They taught me about candles. They taught me about holding hands and forming a circle and praying. They taught me about receiving the Spirit of God in my body. Like, my mom did not have me baptized. My family, Catholic for sure. My grandparents are both Catholic. My mom baptized, but she decided that she wanted me and my sister and I, to be able to choose what path we wanted. So she kept us involved in spiritual activities, all Christian, because she wanted the best for us. But at some point, I kind of started to explore other things. And I don't know if that coincided with me understanding about my sexual orientation and like the conflict that, you know, spirituality and sexual orientation represented, or if there were some other observations that I was making. But at some point, at around 9 years old, 1997, that's when I wrote in my first book of shadows. And I had been reading books and meeting people, other children and other people who were a part of the craft for at least a few years before that. So November 7th, 1997, 9 years old, that is the first entry in my book of shadows. It was a green spiral down.
So the children led the children.
Yeah.
Yep, I love that.
He took over.
So that was how it started. Of course, there was The Elements of Witchcraft was the first book, and I was reading that like in the bathroom at midnight or like in my closet like super late, so like my parents wouldn't find out. I ended up getting busted and suspended from school in the 7th grade for having Scott Cunningham's solitary Wicca for a solitary practitioner, the green and black cover, the first one. I had that. I had The Craft, that green book. I want to say it's Dorothy Morrison, the one that had the notebook in it. And I also had Silver Ravenwolf's Wicca for a New Generation. And a student snitched on me and said I was worshiping the devil. So the assistant principal opened up my locker, took out those books, and I got suspended. And my mom was so furious that I was practicing witchcraft that she didn't even care that it was against the law for them to suspend me for having those books. Like,
oh, wow.
And so me and her would go back and forth over the next like multiple years about it. And so the compromise during my teen years was, like, seriously, just keep it out of my house. Like, I don't want you opening any doors in my house. I don't want you attracting any spirits, no negativity. Like, you know, this is not what I raised you to do. Like, I can't stop you from doing it, clearly. So keep it out of my house. So that was the compromise. But also at that time, like maybe a year and a half later, I stumbled across witch school. And my mom did allow me to have a computer in my bedroom with internet access. So here I am 13, 14, 15 years old doing these witch school lessons, interacting with people on the internet, like strangers on the internet through these forums, talking about spells and witchcraft and spirits and spirit conjuring and so on and so forth. It's crazy. And that was really like the formative kind of component. I was able to combine metaphysical education through witch school and through some of the other things that I was studying with the mundane education that I was getting in school. So chemistry alongside alchemy, like biology alongside biology, geology alongside crystals and, you know, so on and so forth. Like, that's how you learn your rocks. Like, I have a test on, you know, sedimentary whatever, like, and I have these, boom. So it really kind of dovetailed to make a complete education.
That's fantastic.
Love it. By the time I got to college, that's when I had enough freedom to get my first degree initiation. So University of Buffalo, freshman year, picked up my first degree studies again, finished them under a lady named Willow, who lived an hour and 20 minutes away from me, but I never actually got to meet her. But she put in a good word, got my first degree initiation, blew through second degree initiation with Lady Wendy as my mentor. It took me, I want to say, 14 months. So I say blew through because third degree was like 5 to 8 years, I want to say. But blew through second degree with Lady Wendy, beloved Lady Wendy, as my mentor. Ended up wrapping up undergrad with my bachelor's in psychology and a double major in social sciences, interdisciplinary, because I couldn't tell if I wanted to be a med school student or a law school student. It was a neither of those school students, actually. I got my bachelor's with those 2 degrees and went into my master's degree for clinical mental health counseling. And I got that degree March of 2015. And then 3 months later, I got my third degree elevation following Witches Fest that same year.
Very good.
So the theme of like making my education like fit with each other has been like, I don't know if that was like by design or if I like happened into it, but keeping both of these parts of myself so together has always been essential.
Mm-hmm.
And
I get that.
Yeah.
I think like looking back on like my own schooling, like a lot of my, like when I finished my associate's degree and my second degree at the same time. I finished my, a lot of little things line up. So it's really interesting on that.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, and then so my master's degree led to I'm now in my PhD program for pastoral psychology, which has been the big impetus for a lot of the work that I'm doing in the Blue Door and pastoral counseling, and just expanding the way that we think about that as magical clergy, and working on making a place for ourselves in that field, so that clergy from our schools or from magical seminaries have a program that is equally as valuable and prepares them to serve in like these pastoral roles. You want to be a pagan social worker, like we got you. You want to do counseling and therapy, like we got you. So the foundations of that are already being laid, and so that's origin story to where I am right now.
I love that.
Yeah, that's one of the areas I felt like when I was going through third degree, which, I came to the craft much later in life. I was 50, where I really didn't feel like I had been appropriately prepared for pastoral care. There's about 45 people in my temple, and not a week goes by that I'm not doing some form of pastoral care.
Mm-hmm.
Because everybody has lives and everything's happening, and who do you turn to? You turn to your spiritual guide. So I'm really thrilled about the Blue Door and then the next evolution of that, because that is something that clergy are not therapists, but yet, and by law, we can't do therapy without other certifications. So, but yet that's what people come to us for. They come to us as being that impartial third party that they can talk to about whatever's going on in their lives and find support there. So pastoral care is a big part. If you're out there studying for clergy, just know that people are going to be looking to you to guide them through pastoral care. It's a huge part of what we do.
And I think we do need to reclaim it and do it on purpose.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So just as an example, like we have Reiki. That's a great way of saying laying on of hands. That is a pastoral care technique that we can utilize.
Mm-hmm.
We've got that. We've got the order of Reiki in our tradition, and then the field is inundated with like various lessons. So how can you organize that into a consultation in a way that you are helping people who are coming to you for spiritual guidance? Mm-hmm. How do you select which symbol to use? What does your intuition tell you about energy or what to ask them about? How do you do it ethically? How do you make sure that you are not violating ethics or, intruding on the personal space of other people while you're doing your healing? All of these things are super important, and they can be answered, within the context of pagan religion, Wiccan faith, and all the other kind of like magical faiths that do have these activities and exercises.
And it looks like we have a question from one of our Greek followers.
Hey.
Lady Stephanie, would you like to address the question of how Wicca affected your relationship with other people, friends, and family as you came through your origin story?
With the first time I recognized that Wicca and really metaphysical thinking was an important counseling tool in a sense, and counseling in a way that to help people show them who they already are. And that I think is so important, that when through conversations, informal conversations, through talking about how different animals behave with each other, their community, their life, how they find a home, how they build a home, that so much can be learned through speaking on things regarding nature. And as I try to start conversations, if it leads that way, and in that way, people see the direction in that. People see the different ways to approach events and problem solve, and to see what really is important in life. Because most troubles that folks have are, in fact, temporary. And to see through the trouble and see past the trouble and continue moving through. And Wicca has always been an easy way to move through life, and an easy way to express your gifts to others, and to be open enough to hear their perspective, to be willing to allowing everyone to have a voice and truly hear what they are saying and what they're presenting, so that learning takes place in partnership with each other, instead of having, one person is the one that is the all-time teacher and the other one is the all-time student. And in fact, as I've moved through life, that has been the foundational precept. I have noticed that everyone is a teacher, just like everything in nature is a teacher. And that so I am both the learner and the teacher, as they are. Even nature itself. The nature is always evolving and learning of itself, about itself, and also teaching us. So I hope that answered the question, because that's yeah.
Has being a Wiccan priestess affected your relationship with your family, like your mom, your dad, your brothers, your sisters, your cousins, your aunts? Because we know that everybody came from somewhere, and it wasn't always good.
Right. They really didn't care what I did. They allowed me to. But I was the kind of a child, especially starting in junior high and then on to high school. Even though First Priest Lord Phoenix, his reason to be suspended was much more honorable. I can't say the same for myself. If I could skip school, I would, so that I could explore. If I was living in a city, I would go down alleys, most of the time get myself in trouble, or not be in a place where I was supposed to be. But that's how I found out about Goddess and God, when I decided to crash a bar. So when I was sitting in this bar at 12 years old, there were people say, "Okay, you can't be here." So
Love.
So I found another bar that was like an open air bar in Hawaii. So as you walk past this beautiful mall, there was an open air. I thought, well, I could just sit myself right up here to this bar. Okay, here we go. I'd like to have a rum and Coke, please. Now the rum and Coke at 12 years old to me was a Coke with a cherry in it. So I didn't know that the rum meant anything to anyone. Yeah. And a couple of times the police would catch me skipping, and then they would take me back home. So, but I thought essentially I was a good kid. At least that's what I was telling everybody. But yet nothing was going to stop me from exploring my world in my way. And that's how I met those two root women in a bar, that same one, that's the open air. And then they kind of called me over and said, like, come over here. We need to talk to you. I'm like, okay, I heard that before.
I love this.
Well, how about if we get you set up with some meditations? It's like, oh my gosh, I don't know what that is, but I'm in. Yes. And so they pulled me out of the bar, and I thought, okay, this is working. No, I've been tricked. That's what's happened. And so from that day forward, from 12 to 18 years old, they worked with me. Everything related, it even began my Reiki training then, but in a different, not like when I was trained finally, officially, formally, when I was, I think, in my 50s, and became, a master, and just, but that the way they taught was very interesting. In that they allowed me to come up with the solutions every time, and that was frustrating in the beginning. And they allowed me to explore, and would drive me up to a jungle and say, "Go on in there, and you'll find your way out." And I wasn't afraid. I would walk in the jungle and just, because I always thought that Hawaii was smaller than it really was. I always thought that I'll get out of it, and I always did. I don't know what kind of logic was that, what that was about, but yeah. So I bring this all up, going back to my family, that they never knew when I would be coming home on a school night. I might be just coming in at like 1 o'clock in the morning because I just finally got out of the jungle.
There she goes again.
I would have been murdered.
I was at 18 and in college, and I still had a curfew of 11 o'clock.
But I want to say just one thing real quick regarding Lord Phoenix about books. In that, all right, so when it was time to go to college, the only thing I thought about that was the most amazing thing in the world is that I was going to enter into this holy of holy places, the college library. And so the first thing I ran to the library, I asked, okay, where is the metaphysical stuff? Where is it? And I ran to that, sat down on the floor, because I could at that time, sat down on the floor and just, said, this is my church right here, right here. So, and then I just grabbed the book, and instead of studying to be an educator, I focused most of my time in that metaphysical section. And I always, like all of you were saying, that I could always dovetail what I was learning in the metaphysical books with what I was learning to become an educator. So
that is the fantastic story. That was great.
Did you just hear that tea get spilled?
Yeah.
We had no idea.
I heard about the open-air bar before, but the jungle I never heard of.
The jungle, it will forever now be right here in my heart and my most favorite precious moment.
Yeah.
I think I hear a new way of initiating people.
Oh no.
Come up
Send them to the
with
jungle.
Yep.
Come out, you get your robes.
What was that, Lady Lori?
Lady Stephanie applies that same technique about people coming up with their own solutions now that she is
Right.
the one guiding
Mhm.
people. I remember when I was doing the degree program, I had a terrible time with visualization. Could not see that dang pearl going into that flower to save my soul. It was so frustrating. So I went to Lady Stephanie. She was my second degree mentor. And I said, Lady Stephanie, I just feel like I'm getting somewhere with the exercises and I'm going up this big sand dune and I think I'm getting there. And all of a sudden I'm going back the other way. I'm sliding back down and I'm struggling and struggling. And I said, what do I need to do? And she says, well, Lori, have you ever thought what would happen if you stop struggling and just let the universe take you where you need to go? Best advice anyone has ever given me.
Oh.
Because I apply that all the time now. Why am I fighting my way upstream? Obviously, the universe wants me somewhere else doing something else. So let's just go see where it is. So I go with the flow.
Yay.
That is
Yay.
such an essential piece of advice. And to get it as someone who has given it is like the most annoying thing in the entire world.
Yes.
Struggling. And why do you have to say that to me? But that is so, like, acceptance is so essential for the erasure of suffering.
Oh, yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes. Teach it. Yes.
Hey.
Come on.
So both of you have very active temples. What made you want to start a temple and like how, what's the story of the temple?
Oh, you go first, Phoenix. I have stuff to say. Yeah, go ahead. You go.
Yeah, it started off with an assumption. A member of clergy has to have like a church. That's like the foundation where they start off at their church, then they leave, do the stuff that they got to do, and they go back, regroup, rest, what have you, then open the doors again, go out, maybe bring some people in, so on and so forth. So it was my assumption that if I was going to be a priest at all, I would have to have a church, a temple. So that is why I engage in the temple making process to begin with. Why I keep a temple and continue to work is a completely different thing. And it has more to do with what I see other people accomplishing with the structure. The temple seems to provide people with a type of confidence and motivation to do what was already on their hearts. And I do sometimes worry that if like we didn't all stand next to each other and like, this is the temple of holiness. Like we're standing together right now. This is the temple. Me, you, us. We're the temple. We're not in anyone's house. We're out in a park. If I said this is not a temple anymore, I'm worried if that motivation might slip or if the cause that everyone is working for might also slip. Because everyone does look like they're having a great time serving. So keep doing it.
Yes.
And then the service attracts other people who want to serve.
Mhm.
It attracts people who need to be healed, of course, like essentially, but the service calls other people who want to be doing the thing. And so once it started to expand beyond me and like my best friends, once it started to like, once strangers were like, hey, I want to be a part of this, like I like what's happening here, it was like, all right, now it's way too late to go back. Like other people are starting to invest time, energy, money in what's going on. And I'm not the kind of person that can be like, hey, that's all been great, but like this temple stuff is really busy. Then the other thing is I made an oath to be a priest multiple times, and I did it every single year at every single illustration over and over and over again. And so not being a priest, not having a temple, not working to provide a space for the community to have a structure, to tap into their spirit is no longer an option for me. That's just what it is now.
Yeah.
I think a temple, when you lead a temple, it becomes part of your being. Just like your arm or your leg or your lung or your heart. It is so integrated into everything that you do to lead that temple. Even if you delegate, even if you step back, like at Chosen Path, anyone in the temple can do a ritual, anyone in the temple can do a study group. So I step back, and if there's anything left that's not covered after our business meeting, those are the things that I pick up and do, so that everyone has that opportunity to weave their thread into the tapestry of the temple. And all those threads lead always through that temple keeper, as they orchestrate all of the things going on in their temple.
Mhm.
Beautiful.
Sacred Sea was where I got my initiations, except for second degree. So that temple is very, very close to my heart.
Same.
Beautiful.
I want to hear Sacred Sea story.
Uh,
Please.
essentially, I just wanted to be a witch. I did not have to be clergy. I was already a pastor of a church for several years, a principal of schools for many years. I didn't need to be a leader. Got it. Been there, done that. But yet, when you are a spiritual person and a clergy person, you end up being what you are, what you already are. So, but I wanted to, once again, the exploration gene I have, that I thought I was entering something different, and I was entering something different, but yet I wasn't. So that when I first met and went for third degree intensives, at that point there was I think like 16 of them, and so go on the long weekend to take many of them. And so the people there would be saying, all right, so what are you now? And meaning dealing with groups. And I said, well, I'm a personal shrine. And so you've been with us, and you're just happy with that. And I said, I'm very happy. And then as years have passed, and then they asked me the same question, and by the time I became a Witton shrine, then they asked again, so where are you now? And I said a Witton, and that was when I was taking my third degree intensives, because I was at the end of my third degree. And so then someone pulled me aside. Her name was Lady Ruth Ann, and she said, don't you want to have a temple? And I said, no. And she said, why? I said, because I don't want paperwork. Okay. No paperwork. I'm not a paperwork kind of person. So then she said, well, okay, you're saying no to me. All right. And then she said, I'm going to set you up as a proto temple. I said, no, thank you. She said, I'm doing it.
No, thank you.
Yes. So I went into it, and then as I entered in as proto temple, because the people were coming and visiting, and we were doing wonderful things, the rituals and on, but I didn't feel I needed to have any special kind of title to the group or even myself. I just wanted to be and allow everyone else in the proto temple to be. And I would make sure that there'd be tons and tons of different platforms to experience and to share their gifts. So like I was set up. It was like I'm good. Like I'm really good. And so then it just came a day that I recognized that this is so beautiful. And yes, maybe I can talk Lady Anna out of doing reports. So we had long talks. She worked with me, and so that was good. So yes, it's basically like I wasn't running away from something, because how can you run away from yourself? I was already always had a clergy heart, and you can't run away from what you are. So then I said, okay, fine, I'll do this. And then it came a day I remembered what those two root women said to me, and that they said, in your old age, you're going to be the leader of a of a tradition. And I said, oh, for the love of God, like when again? Like, no, I just, and so then here we all see how that ended up. And so this is, I really feel that spirit in the universe and the goddesses and gods that directed my path, that I ended up where I was supposed to be every time. Even those times when I thought I was lost, I look back and go, I wasn't lost at that time, because I was in the middle of a process of developing yet another thing that needed another skill, like whatever, to be used at later dates. So yeah, to make a long story longer, I'm sorry, but that's basically.
No, we love your stories.
We had a question from the audience saying, yet for many people, exactly that very temple structure is turning them away.
Oh.
What's your opinion on that?
Oh, I understand where they're coming from, and I have heard that many times over, especially when I became first priestess. The last 7 years, I've heard that over and over, and it's like, well, some people say, but I don't want to be a clergy. I've never been a clergy, and I don't want to. I just want to be a witch. And I don't like all the formalness and the regalia. I just want to be a witch. And when we come into rituals, I want to express what I am. And I said, every time I would talk to these people, I would say, I love that idea. And we are working on that. And we're moving in that direction, recognizing that, yes, the clergy is always going to be close to our heart, and yet we recognize that 90% of people don't want to be part of clergy, that 90% of people just want to be a beautiful, beautiful witch. So for now, this person that asked that now, believe me, we are in fact working on this to have something that is a platform for the rest, for everyone. That suits you.
Yeah.
I think that the success of the temple structure, as our temples are very decentralized, is manifested locally, and it depends on if the structure of that temple is built with the congregation in mind instead of the clergy in mind.
Yes.
That like at Chosen Path, we don't robe up, we don't wear regalia. The only thing we robe up for is initiations. But we have a business meeting every year. What did we do good? What did we screw up? What can we do better on? Got any new ideas? And it's the congregation that drives the momentum of the church.
Yes.
And then my role is to give them a safe space to do that in.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think a lot of people come out of quote unquote book religions where it's very much focused on the clergy.
Yes.
You are a congregation facing the clergy, repeating after the clergy, yada, 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 yada. Whereas in local temples, it's more organic. It's more whatever the personality of that group of people is. Would you say that you found that in your temple, Lord Phoenix?
Yeah, I'm also very much so. Actually, to address the question from Greece, temple structures driving people away is a thing, and I unfortunately believe that it is our role to do some gatekeeping. And so, if people have felt driven away, you are not driven away from the religion. You are not driven away necessarily from the people. But the message might be that being in this place is not the right spot for you right now. And if you are struggling against that message and swimming upstream, it will hurt when a spiritual leader from a temple or a structure says, hey, I don't think this is the right place for you. It will feel like rejection. And depending on how you deal with these uncomfortable emotions, you might get butthurt. You might start saying bad things. You might start slandering. You might start misunderstanding the situation. But not every structure is for every single person. And there are people who are designated to make that assessment. Those people are fallible. However, it is their or our job to look out for the whole community. And I think that at the very least, if we are in a role of being a gatekeeper, we need to be up to date on our referrals. If my space is not for you, is there a space that I can refer you to where you might be able to get those needs met in a way that you are looking for?
And that's why we do meet and greets, you know, and being part of Nephelplic, I've got a myriad of other paths and other spiritual leaders that if I don't think this person is going to jive with the energies of the people in my group, I usually can refer them to another group that this is more what you're looking for. You know, maybe they're looking for eclectic or they're looking for Nordic. You know, every path can be celebrated at Chosen Path, but you got to be open to hearing someone else's path on the ritual that you're not leading. You know?
Yes. And that I think is essential. And that, to the question that you asked me, is a foundational philosophy. In order for me to have a temple and tell people what is what, I have to make myself be an expert in their life or in their spiritual path. And that is not something that I'm comfortable with projecting. But in coming to this structure and me saying, hey, show me how you do you, and let's help you make your ministry out of that, is absolutely a way to build and expand and allow people to recognize that it's safe to pray with me, or that it's safe to let me pray with you. And that when we're sharing this space, we're both here contacting the divine in the way that we do it. And then the thing that manifests that is co-creational between all of us.
I even have Christians as part of Chosen Path. So,
yes.
So
the more people who represent a face on that diamond, I think the more complete the work.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That is the truth. So, Lord Phoenix, Lady Stephanie, can you tell people how to get in touch with you? Should they want to, hook up with your temple?
Lady Steph just said she can't go to the bathroom. No. Leave us alone until 2024.
Yes, that's right.
Our people will be in touch. That's my answer. I didn't mean to speak for you, Lady Steph, but seriously, I'm on Facebook, I'm on YouTube, I've got email. You can reach out to me. It'll take me a long time to get back to you. But that's where you see me right now. That's where I'm at very frequently.
Yep.
And for me, I think the easiest way is just get on Facebook, and I'm under just Stephanie Neal, and you'll see me there, and just come on in. And if you have any questions about the Carillion tradition or anything, then we'll start chatting. But I'm not going to chat with you if you start selling something, please. And
that's the truth.
Country that I can't even pronounce, please. Okay.
Yeah. Don't try to sell me nothing.
So I had just wanted to interject one thing before we start getting to the wrap-up stage. So I had posted the event in the Spanish-speaking hub, and one of the questions that was on there that I think is important to know is they were asking if there's any plans on visiting some of our groups in Latin America.
Yes.
Ooh.
Yes.
Yes, of course. I want to see you. Where there's a will, there's a way. Now that I know
Right.
y'all want to see me too, right? Like, y'all got Airbnbs?
You would be surprised how inexpensive Airbnbs are. Like, I think I saw one for less than $10 a day in Colombia, near where I stay when I'm down there.
Wow.
So I have a passport and I have a desire.
Awesome.
If y'all like that, I would love to meet you. I would love to pray in your space, and I would love for you to put a blessing on me.
That is so
Now,
cool.
how about that?
I love that.
Lady Lori's going to be doing
I
a lot of
definitely have
traveling.
South America on my to-do list for my Adventures of a Wandering Witch.
Oh, yay.
Well, as I get more settled down there and not having to go back and forth,
Yeah.
We can do a tour. That would be fun.
I would
A
love
lot,
that.
a lot of my own temple members are actually in Chile, so like, and we have some active groups there too. So
That's so cool.
Very
we have
active. The
people.
Spanish speaking part of the Correll, I'm the master of records for the tradition.
Yeah.
And the Spanish speaking part of the world is our fastest growing population of outer court members.
What was
Absolutely.
your question?
Hands down.
Yeah.
The
Yep.
people that are guiding the communities there are doing a fabulous job. Fabulous job. They're training, they're engaging people, they're getting them to register for outer court. It's wonderful, the work that they're doing.
Yes. I second that.
Pick someone said pick both of them and bring them with you when you come.
Yeah, I'm going back
when
to
you
Greece
come back
next
to
year.
Greece, you have to pick them both up and bring them with you. You know, shove them in your suitcase and let's get going.
I've been doing yoga, so I might fit in a suitcase soon.
Well, I'm down to just a carry-on bag for my long trip, so I don't know.
All right.
Gonna have to wear all my clothes.
Fair.
All
Oh.
right. So, Reverend Lori, do we have any other things that we need to? Oh, we've lost Lori.
Yeah, we lost her.
Oh dear. Oh
She
dear.
must have finished her coffee.
She must have. What are some of the opportunities that people can use to support the work that you are now taking tradition wide in your new roles?
You want to go first, Phoenix?
I don't even know how to answer that question right now.
Me too. I know that's such a broad, beautiful question.
Like, stay tuned, pay attention, follow us, get involved with some projects. Getting involved with projects will be a way to get closer to us and closer to like that time and that guidance, because like right now, like we really are directing things and sharing the vision and like trying to make things work together. So if you want to get closer to us, get involved in a project, and you'll have a direct channel for how to learn about how to continue to support the stuff that the church is doing or that, you know, the temples are doing.
I ditto.
Any final thoughts?
Yeah, come on over to illustration in about an hour, so we could do this blessing.
And my final thought is that know that the Carillion tradition is the most wonderful tradition, because of every single member is a unique, beautiful part of the whole of the whole. And we truly see each other. So that's it.
Yeah.
And yes, come to the illustration. You would love it.
And where can they find the link for the illustration, Lord Phoenix?
I've been putting it in the event page in the Carillion membership hub. I've been putting it in the degree hubs, and I've been putting them on the Witch School Facebook page and my personal Facebook page. If any of y'all get the link and you want to share it like snowball style, share it to people that you know will be showing up.
Share it to your temples, share it to your study groups, share it out. All righty. Well, I thank everybody for spending this coffee clutch time together. I think we all had a great time. I know I did. And I want to give special thanks to Lady Stephanie and Lord Phoenix for taking the time to do the show right before the illustration, because we all know how much work goes into illustration. So we really appreciate you spending time with us, letting people ask you questions, and getting to know you as people and not roles.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Thanks for the opportunity.
Yay.
Thank you.
All right. So I think that's it for today. And stay tuned for the credits, because you'll see who we're going to have next time.